May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke Audio Podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, doing our bit to help preserve the legacy of Shunryu Suzuki and those whose paths cross his, and anything else that comes to mind. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So today we have a guest, Furyu Nancy Schroeder, or Nancy Furyu Schroeder, known to those who are close to her as Fu. And Fu came to Zen Center, in the 70s. She'll say in this, I can't remember exactly when. I'm gonna read her the brief little bio on her off the San Francisco Zen Center site, and that might say. Anyway, I always enjoyed relating with her. We worked together at Greens, and sometimes I'd see her outside of Zen Center socially because we had some of the same friends. And now she's living at INSO, the Zen Center's retirement center. She seems pretty spry to be there, but so do a lot of them. And, Zen Center felt it was time to move the old codgers out. And so they've got it pretty good there. So look here, let me see what the San Francisco Zen Center site has to say. Furyu Nancy Schroeder, Senior Dharma Teacher. Furyu Nancy Schroeder, a resident of San Francisco Zen Center since the 1970s, became abiding abbess at Green Gulch Farm Zen Center in March 2014 and stepped down from that role in March 2023. Fu has held most of the monastic positions at San Francisco Zen Center and has been an active supporter of programs for children, people of color, the gay and lesbian community, and the interfaith community. In 2008, she was elected to the Marin Women's Hall of Fame. And I didn't know that. Well, congratulations, Fu. Wow. And in 2010, she was appointed to the board of the Marin Community Foundation. In addition, she has previously co-led the San Francisco Zen Center's Contemplative Caregiving course. She received Dharma Transmission from Tenshin Reb Anderson in 1999. All right, very good. Look, let's just go right into it. I can't say anymore. Let's give her a call like I used to, because that was Skype. And now I'm using Zoom that Skype has been put to rest. And so there's no phone ringing. She just comes on. And now we see each other. However, I am not making video podcasts. That would be more work. But I do keep a copy of it. Anyway, so here we go with Furyu Nancy Schroeder. Hi there. Fu.
Hi, Dave.
Hi. Yes. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing good.
Nice room.
Thank you. Anso Village.
Hey, what's that stack over there? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bookshelf. Have you seen those?
Is that?
It has metal shelves, so you can slip the books in.
Oh.
And then it looks like it's about to fall over, which is the fun part.
I like it.
I do too.
I never saw one. So What are you up to these days?
Well, I moved here about a year ago now
Where's here?
to Enso Village.
What's Enso Village?
Oh, David, a new thing for you. So Zen Center's been working for years to put together a retirement place for those of us who've been around a while so that we weren't basically clogging up all the housing as we got older, that they needed to figure out a solution for where the seniors were going to go when we retired, which was, the policy was you retire at 70. And if you've been around 20 years or more, then you get to live at Zen Center, but no one said, where or how or whatever. So then some years ago, they started this great idea of developing a retirement center for not just us. There are about 200 units here. It's really big. There's a Zendo in the middle. You ought to look it up online, Enso Village.
Oh, I know all about Enso Village.
You do? Okay, you're teasing me.
There might be somebody listening to this who doesn't know.
Doesn't know. Oh, well, in that case, it turns out it's a really nice place for those of us who've come here, even though we were a little hesitant, to leave the nest. I think once we've all gotten here and, gone through the throes of unpacking, it's really a wonderful place. And people are very kind. And we're making lots of new friends. I said to somebody, it's sort of like going from swimming in a swimming pool to the open ocean, because now the Zen Center structure isn't here. So, we're kind of free to stay in bed or get up or, do our thing as retired people. And it's very nice.
I said, I know, I think I might have said I know all about it. That's not right. I keep learning about it. And I hear positive things. And there's Buddhists and Quakers and Vipassana and Tibetan. Anything else?
Atheists. And Christians. We got the whole smorgasbord. Of people with really different backgrounds. And little by little, initially it was kind of the Zen sitting in the morning, which is a little more formal, like step in on your left foot, that kind of thing. And then some of the asana people said, well, we don't want all that stuff. And so they have their own period of Zazen, but now we're all starting to sit together. It's sort of like, well, hey, we don't need to continue this idea of these sectarian traditions. We can just be under the Bodhi tree together, right? And enjoy meditating together. So.
Yeah. I've done Vipassana retreats here, and I like them a lot, and don't miss any details. Although I go to Germany sometimes, and I enjoy the details they have there in their rituals. They're okay, nothing too much.
Yeah. Once a week we do service for 10 minutes. So we put on our robes. We do the robe chant on Tuesday. And somebody's doshi. We take turns and we chant the Heart Sutra. And that seems like very sweet. We don't have plans to do much more than that right now. So I think we're working out our harmonious living situation for everybody. And I think it's a wonderful experiment that seems to be going well so far.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. And they're starting one down in LA or that area.
Enso Verde.
Enso Verde. Jane Schneider is scheduled to be part of that. Actually, they put Peter and Jane in as as spiritual leaders or something like that. But
qualified.
Yeah, but Peter decided to leave, and
Yeah.
Uh, but I don't know. She's got it so good. I think she wants to stay where she is. She's very well
So
taken care of. She's got a little community of students. So now, do you have any other activities? Are you involved in anything now that you'd like to tell
be
me?
proud of. Well, I play ping pong a lot, quite a lot. Yeah, well, I still I have a class every Sunday online,
Mm,
which I've been doing since COVID started when I was still abbess at Green Gulch. They were asking us if we would do some online sanghas
yeah.
because we were closed basically. So I started a group on Sundays at 5, and that's been going now it's now 4 years or something. And there's a wonderful little group of people who have been coming. So we're now feel like a sangha. We feel as though we've made some commitment to each other. And folks are a lady from Singapore who comes, and so she gets up, it's breakfast for her, and we're getting ready for dinner. So it's really been a wonderful opportunity to just keep on teaching and
Yeah.
learning and talking to people. So I just finished doing Zen Mind Beginner's Mind, chapter by chapter. That took a year, and
Mm,
that was really fun, really delightful for all of us. And now I'm doing Yogacara
mm.
and Ben Connolly's book. You know Ben, right? Do you know him
Ben
from Minnesota?
Connolly?
Ben Connolly? Connolly?
Conley. Oh, Ben Connolly. Well, I know the name.
The name. Yeah.
I don't keep up very well. And hey, how does somebody find your Zen group?
Zen Center has it's like a banner. When you go on the Zen Center website, it has like, I forget what it says, something. My name is there. If people just put my name into the
Yeah,
search, it would pop up as
yeah,
a regular weekly thing.
yeah. And your
And
name
the link,
is
the link is
there
there.
is Furyu Furyu
Yeah.
Schroeder Schroeder.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that the same as the Schroeder from Peanuts?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my uncle.
That's your uncle.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrific. Well, I'd sort of like to know where your way-seeking mind path begins. Well, one thing, just where were you born and what year was it? If you do, so
I don't
kind of.
mind. I was born in 1948
Mm-hmm.
in San Francisco,
Mm,
on California Street.
mm,
And my I was the third child in my family. My mom had 2 children when she met my dad. So my older brother and sister were already there. And then I came along, and then I have 2 younger brothers who came after me. And we ended up in the suburbs of San Francisco. I went to school in South San Francisco. So
mm.
that's kind of my turf. And then went to San Francisco State for college. And that was in the heyday of, college. It was shut down at one point. Hayakawa came in, and there was all kinds of, demonstrations, and we were
Mm.
all busy doing what we did in the 60s. And so then at some point, I got connected with a man who had a dude ranch in Wyoming. So I packed my little white suitcases and I moved to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And I
Wow.
lived there for about 5 years.
Mm,
And that was great. I
mm,
was never really meant to leave. I intended to stay there in cowboy country, and I thought I'd wait around and teach high school. That was
yeah.
my plan. So I went back to San Francisco to go to state and get a teaching credential. And while I was there, I met John Nelson,
Ah,
the Saint John.
yeah.
Boy, the kindest, most lovely man, one of the most lovely men I've ever known. He was my boss at the Trust for Public Land.
Oh,
I
oh.
got a job for Huey
Mm,
Johnson, was my
yeah.
boss, and John and I worked together. And John, I said, "Well, who are you? You're so kind." He said, "I'm a Zen student. Do you want to
Ah,
come to?" And so I said, "Sure." So I went to the city center with him for dinner. And then a little while later, I was sent by TPL, Trust for Public Land, to videotape the celebration opening Koshland Park across the street from City Center.
Yes.
So I bet you were there.
I was.
Oh, yeah. So there were balloons and then I had the camera and here comes this procession across the street with Baker Roshi leading. And I was like, oh my God. What is this? And so it was just this amazing introduction to the ritual, to the people, to the party, to the creating a park for kids in the Tenderloin. And I was like a combination of such goodness and such theatrical performance. And so I zoomed in on Baker Roshi. It's like, whoa, who is this guy? Anyway, not too long after I started going to this Zendo, I started sitting on the way home from work. So I did that for quite a while. I just get a transfer, go to the city center, sit zazen, and go home. So that's where I began my journey. And yeah. And then, as you know, you have to go meet Baker Roshi. If you're going to come in, you got to go see him privately. So I did that. And that was a very powerful experience to look up and see somebody looking at you with these big brown eyes. It's like, oh my God, where am I? It's amazing. And I kind of did it. I think I told him later. I told him when we were in Germany, I said, you did it. You pointed to the door and I went through it. You were the door. So very grateful to him for that and for many things. We're going to have lunch this Saturday, by the way.
Very good.
He's going to give a lecture. Did you know that? He's going to lecture at the center on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. It's good.
Yeah.
And anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing him and Nicole. And Nina Hagen will be here. So we're going to have lunch, the four of us.
Good. Oh,
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
I know. I'm excited.
Very cool. Very cool.
I know.
Nina.
Nina.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah. I remember the Koshland Park opening. I remember a lot about the Koshland Park. Royston was the contractor. And that is not the one that Zentatsu wanted. He wanted Isamu Noguchi, the Japanese sculptor, to do it, right? Really tried. But the city chose Royston, who did all the parks, or was sort of standard. But anyway, it worked out very well.
It's a nice park, still a nice park.
Yeah.
It's held all these years. That's almost 50 years ago, David.
Yeah, that would have been, but that was 76.
Yeah. It's one more year.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So what happened then? You were at TPL. What a wonderful place to work.
Oh, I did. It was great. It was great. And Huey was great.
Yeah.
We call it the thug for good.
What? Say it again.
The thug for good.
The thug for good. Yeah. Huey said, other people get heart attacks. I give heart attacks.
It's true. I was his secretary, and we'd write these letters to people. It was huzzah. He always signed it huzzah. Huey. Anyway, he was a amazing human being.
Yeah.
I'm sorry he passed. I got to write a little obituary for him for the TPL newsletter. It was quite an honor to be able to speak.
That's yeah. Well, we have Green Gulch because of him.
No.
Yeah.
I know.
And other factors. And factoids. Oh, well, so there you are at TPL, and you're sitting at Zen Center, and you've met Zentatsu. So
Yeah.
What happened
So,
then?
well, the only choice I had was to move in, and that's kind of what you did next was to go through the door. And so I did. I moved in, and
How hard
I,
was it to get in?
I'm
How hard was it to get in? Waiting
not,
list, requirements?
not so hard. I think I had to see Baker Roshi 3 times. I think that was what he did in those days. He mustn't have been so busy because I saw him 3 times,
Yeah.
and and then and then I was given, I shared a room when I first. Pam Jackson and I shared a room when I first was there,
Hmm.
and did my first sesshin and all of that sort of thing, which just seemed impossible, until it was over. I was like, I survived. It was kind of amazing. Um, but it was, it's such a wonderful, exciting, and interesting place. It still is, and it has been all these years. I've never been sorry to have been there. I just really was grateful.
I
And
agree.
yeah.
I agree.
Mm.
There are there have been quite a few people that found the city center depressing and didn't like it that much and don't like it now. But that's normal. That's normal. That's what people say about everywhere.
I was
Oh,
going
it
to say,
used
they
they
don't like it
used
here.
yeah. People now, 10 years from now, they're oh, you should have been here 10 years ago. It was really great.
Yeah, right, right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's just something about sitting together in the dark. I don't know. I do that here now. So, 7:30, not 5. So we sit zazen at 7:30 in the morning, and there's about 30 people in the dark. And it's
Hmm.
just, I don't know, it's just such a yummy thing to do. I kind of pulled in there. I was like, I don't have to do that. And I thought, oh, yes, you do. Because I want to. And
Ah.
I'm very happy that's here. And there's a beautiful little Zendo.
Hmm.
You haven't visited yet, have you? And so,
I haven't been back to America since we came here 12 years ago.
oh, okay.
And
Well, if you ever do,
yeah,
it'd be nice to host you. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm. I sat at 7:30 this morning. See, so sort of we sat together.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, look, except for the little time differential.
Right.
What
Uh,
time is it where you are right now?
it's well, I called you at 10 a.m. and you were at
Oh,
7
okay.
p.m.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you're at 7 p.m. yesterday. Uh,
Oh,
uh, so
so you want, so what's going to happen tomorrow?
it's good. It's a good
So far,
day. Yeah,
it's good to
right.
know. Yeah, I just keep checking in with you to know if there's anything to worry about.
Right, right. Indeed. Um, well, um, I want to see if I can get some highlights from you, like um, any experience or people or anything you could dredge up from the old memory banks. I know you went to work at at Greens in I was there 79 and 80 and you
You
were
were there.
there.
You
I
were
don't know.
there. I remember you. And also, I was at the bakery first.
Uh,
So my first job was at Tossar Bakery with some characters, all the characters who were there. And then the back of the bakery was Emila and Mick and, the crew of bakers. And then after about a year there, I got transferred to Greens to be a server.
mhm.
And yeah, so that was a very energetic time.
Yeah, indeed.
Restaurant was new and it was going well and people were coming and we were kind of in the news as
Yeah,
a thing. Zen Center
yeah.
was a kind of a powerful presence, cultural presence in San Francisco, and not just San Francisco, but anyway, people knew about us. It was sort of it wasn't
Mm.
I felt it was kind of a nice thing to say, oh yeah, I'm from the Zen Center. It's like, oh, the Zen Center. Yeah, Jerry Brown was just here.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
So
You're
we had a
right.
lot of cachet.
Yeah,
And
it was a little too high.
yeah, I think that the balloon did pop, didn't it?
Yeah,
Oops.
you gotta watch out about getting too high. You know what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah,
who?
yeah. I'm afraid I do.
Yes. Who was manager of the bakery? I was just trying to remember. Yes,
Jay Semino.
Jay. Was he the first manager?
I don't know because I don't know.
I think
Like
Bill
I
Lane
met,
might have been the first manager.
oh, is that right? Is that
Yeah.
right? He
Actually,
was
Richard
treasurer,
asked
I think.
me to do it
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
because I'd run the grocery store. And, he and I had been together quite a bit. I've been his Jisha for a couple of years, except when I was
Um,
Shuso and at Green Gulch and Tassajara and the grocery store. And he and I were always tangling, but we got along. But then we had a sort of break administratively, I'd say. I was sort of, you were fired, I quit, you were fired at the same time. But then, he wanted me back right away. And I thought, well, it's time for me to, I think I said to develop my own strength. But the Gosselin Park thing was right a week later or something. And that's when he asked me to, if I'd get the bakery going, because he knew I was good to help get things going, and then you got to get rid of
uh,
me. Um, you
you're the
know,
startup.
yeah, yeah, because then I'll just cause trouble. And but I thought it best if we took a little break, but I came back for greens.
Hmm.
Yeah. Mm.
And then one evening, he came up to me. I'd become good friends with Renee,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, so that was really nice. I had that was a very special friendship for quite a long time. And then one evening, I was there, and he came up to me. Richard Baker came up to me and said, "It's time for you to go to Tassajara." I said, "Oh, really? You sure? I'm having a very nice life here. It's greens and, living in the city center. And it was it was wonderful fun. Tassajara didn't strike me as wonderful fun. Somehow it seemed like it was going to be a whole different thing,
Huh.
which it was. And so that was yeah, I kind of say to people, if they if get that far in a conversation, my life sort of began there. Yeah, for
Ah.
real.
At Tassajara.
Yeah. It's like I sort of found myself
Ah.
like just the surfacey, whatever personality that I had evolved in having and stuff, but something a lot quieter and more uh, self-reflective and more interested in the world and other people and all. It's just kind of a big shift in my sense of the world and myself. And anyway, it's still going on. I'm still trying to kind of work through that change
Yeah.
because it was significant. And I felt very eventually I was there about 3 years. At some point I thought, well, I just want to stay here now.
Yeah.
After not wanting to be there, then I just didn't want to leave because it became a good habit or a good way of living. And then I forget why I left something. Oh, Richard Baker left.
Oh,
And
83. You left in 83?
yeah, yeah. So I was there the practice period when Thich Nhat Hanh came down
Right.
and Paul Hawken came down and Paul and Baker Roshi went off for a walk. And so that was our practice. My last practice period there was, or maybe second to last, because I think then Reb came down and did one, which was really different, kind of reassembled the schedule and the
Yeah.
monastic vibe was
Yeah.
was reestablished. Um, so those were all kind of confusing, painful transitions. Losing my teacher was very painful,
Mm.
and I think for all of us, but personally, it was
Yeah.
very, very painful.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Well, those things tend to happen in communities
Yeah.
and religious groups and this and that.
Yeah.
I think it strengthens them in the long run.
Yeah, well, in the long run, I think it strengthened me too, because like you said, I needed to, what did you say about leaving? You needed to strengthen yourself.
I need to develop my own strength.
Yeah, I feel the same way that if he hadn't left, I think a lot of us would never have developed our own strength because it was so easy to have this other layer of deciders and information coming down. It was all top down. And once that layer was gone, because as you know, when Richard Baker left, so did a whole bunch of male priests. So there were kind of a couple rows of male priests every morning in service. And after a while, after within a year, I was I was on the senior staff in the city center. And the first year I was on senior staff, I was the only female. And the second year, there was only one male. And so it was like, oh my God, whoa, what's just happened? So there was a real gender shift that happened uh, when a lot of the males left when Richard left. So that was a really big, you know, I don't want to say opportunity, but that did allow a number of us to move up the ranks much quicker than we would. I would never have been abbess if that hadn't happened, because there were so many senior people ahead of me, and the field would have been, just it would have been clearly these very senior people would have moved into those roles. So that Linda Ruth and myself and Christina and so on became abbesses really had a lot to do with the fact that that layer went away.
Where'd they go? I'd never looked at it this
started
way.
Restaurants, David Cohen started a restaurant. Somebody else went into business and somebody else got married and had kids. I mean, they all doctors, remember? Michael Gelfand became a doctor. So there are a lot of different choices, but a lot of it was career choice. And a few of them, I think, went with Baker Roshi. Not too many. Paul Rosenblum also started his own business. So I think it was more of a establishing themselves in the world, on their own feet.
Yeah,
and
yeah. Actually, I don't think Paul went with him right away. But I'm not sure. I could go back and refer to the podcast I did with him, but
you got evidence. Oh dear! Don't fact check me because I don't get facts right very often.
Paul was pretty independent in other ways, and but that's very interesting thing you pointed out. I never looked at it quite that way. And Reb, I mean, it was really good. Reb was there.
Well, the husbands stayed. The husbands with children didn't leave. So Norman, Reb, Paul, people who had families and they had apartments and they had a livelihood and children to support. Those are the ones who stayed. It was the singles that didn't have to have obligations, that they had choices. So, we really became a family, kind of a family leadership group. And Teo was really young and all the kids were young. Norman's kids were young. So, I think if sociologists came in and kind of looked at, it would be fascinating to see what these, in a kind of neutral view, what happened, what was the big shift?
Yeah, just what I was thinking when you said that. I think that a lot, looking at things, sociologically is can be very useful at times. Well, that's pretty neat. You pointed that stuff out. I hadn't looked at it that way. So, but you stayed. You kept going.
Well, I kind of felt like I remember saying. And you remember in the old days there was the Sandinistas in I think it was El Salvador. said I was a Sanganista. I really didn't want to leave the Sangha. I felt like everybody was leaving who had these big positions, and I felt like we were going to be in big trouble, if everybody left. I really loved Zen Center, and it was so sad to me. I said, "Where are you going?" I just kept asking people, "Where are you going? Why are you leaving? This isn't the right time to leave." So I did feel a tremendous it wasn't exactly loyalty, but I believed what we were doing. I was staying there because I really believed that we were, Dharma heirs and bodhisattvas and all these things that we were being taught. Actually, in those days, I'm kind of pure-hearted about all of that. I mean, I
Hmm.
kind of still am, but in a different way, a little more of a perspective than I had then. But yeah, it was kind of romantic, but I did stay because I thought I was needed. And then I just did all the stuff, the Tenzo and the Eno and the Tanto. And I just kind of went through the ranks over the years and moved to Green Gulch eventually. I'd gone to Tassajara, then I left City Center and I moved to Green Gulch. And then I stayed there a good long time, probably 25 years maybe or something.
Oh, yeah, with
And
Grace. Oh, yeah.
yeah, with Grace and my baby and Sabrina.
Sabrina, right.
Yeah,
Oh, I remember. How's Sabrina?
she's wonderful. She just bought a car. We just helped her buy a car. She's a paralegal down in Los Angeles, and she has a very nice young boyfriend that we like, and three cats. And she has a little cottage, and her life seems to be really good. She's
Good.
in good. We're going down to see her in 2 weeks for her birthday. So she's 32. She's going to be 32.
Hmm.
That little
Hmm.
thing, little
Hmm.
baby. She's
Yeah,
not that big. She
32.
was like 4 pounds when we got her. You know.
Right. Right. She
Yeah.
was, as I recall, you all, well, Grace is a doctor, right?
Right. Right.
And you all, did you say you were willing to take or requested a baby that had problems or something like that? Or you'll just take whoever or what?
Yeah. No, we weren't even looking. We got a phone call. I remember I was standing in the pond house where we lived, Grace and I lived, and I was on my way to Japan. I had my visa and my plan. I was going to go to Japan and become a real Zen student.
Where?
And
Wait, I just want to know where, in case you don't go back to
I
that.
don't know. I was just beginning to, figure out where other people had gone and where
Oh,
would be the best place
uh-huh,
to go.
uh-huh.
And also I was studying tea ceremonies, so I wanted to study tea. So I had all these ideas. They were in the bud. They
What
weren't
year?
fully formed.
Oh, well, I can tell you what year
Well,
it was.
32 years ago. 32
Yeah,
years.
right. It was, 90, around 90, 93.
Well, Sabrina was born in 93. That helps.
Yeah.
Yes, 93. So, and Grace was going to go to Latin America to work as a doctor in the village. That was her vision. And my vision was to go to Japan. So we were separating, and that was fine. It was nothing hostile. We were just decided it was time to do our own thing and do our thing. And we got a phone call. So I'm standing in the living room, and Sabrina's going, uh-huh. I mean, Grace is going, uh-huh, uh-huh. And I said, and she said, "Do you want to hear about a baby?" And I said, "What baby? What do you mean, baby?" She said, "Well, there's a little baby that needs a home. She's not well. She's got problems, and but she's not expected to live very long." So that was part of the introduction. She's not afraid to. I mean, she doesn't mind if we say that she's HIV positive. So that was part of her karma, was to have parents who passed the virus to her in the womb. And then we found out she had a little cerebral palsy, so that's why she uses a wheelchair. But all of that wasn't even evident because she was just this little thing that needed to be fed and kept warm and so on, and hopefully kept alive because she was very fragile. And she wasn't really expected to live more than a year. At that time, the HIV babies didn't live very long at all. So she was, because Grace was a doctor and HIV doctor, she had the best medical care that was available. So she was at UCSF, Sabrina was, getting all the experimental medicines and all of the trials. And so, every year she'd get another year and another year and another year. And now she's 32. So the medicine just came up under her. And so
Wow.
she's pretty happy, and she's doing extremely well. And she went to college and, graduated from Pitzer. And anyway, it's just been a amazement, because that was not anything that we either had decided we wanted to do, or it just came, right? It just came in the mail.
Yeah.
Here's your baby. Like,
Wow.
whoa. So,
and her grandmother is Isabel Allende.
her biological grandfather was married to Isabel. So yes, it's the grandmother.
Oh, I
For
see.
many years of our being with their family, we would go there on weekends to Isabel's. She had a pool and all that stuff. So we would go with the family and they'd make a big barbecue, and we'd all hang out. And with the kids, then there'd be a whole bunch of people. And Isabel was kind of the center of interest, as she is and should be. And so she was part of our life for those early, the first 15, 20 years. And she still takes good care of Sabrina. She's very kind and generous with her. And so, she's actually wrote about our little story in one of her books. There's a little bit of our story in one of the books that Isabel wrote.
Yeah, my understanding, maybe because Katrinka reads everything, and she's read a lot of that, is that it came up in a meeting that Isabel Allende was having with a women's group or something, what
Yes,
to do,
exactly.
and what.
Well, in fact, one of the women who was in that meeting, who's an attorney, her name's Pauline. She also lives here. She and her husband moved here. So there's a lot of pathways are crossing here at ENSO. Anyway, so she and Isabel and Jean Bolin and Grace were in a prayer group together. And when Isabel came to the prayer group, these women's prayer group, and they still meet, they've been meeting forever. Isabel said, well, my husband's daughter, who's been a heroin addict for most of her years, her teen years, has had a baby, and the state has taken the child, and she needs support. And Pauline said, somebody said, well, I think that baby needs two moms, and Pauline said, well, I know two moms. So that's when we got the call. It was exactly when they called us, and that's the call that I was hearing, what baby, So yeah, it was the women's group, prayer group that
Did you say Grace was there at the?
Yeah, she was part of the prayer circle.
Uh-huh.
Well, she wasn't at that meeting. Then when they were talking
right.
about that,
Yeah,
they called us
okay.
in that meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Fact check.
Yeah.
No, she was in the living.
Well, that's
Yeah, so,
wonderful.
that was
Now, you
wonderful.
mentioned a wheelchair. I remember Sabrina running around too, right? Or at least
She can walk. She can walk. She has a CP gait, cerebral palsy gait. Her hips don't move much, so she has an awkward. She walks on her toes, so it's hard for her to walk very far. So when she goes to work, she takes her wheelchair. She's quick in her wheelchair, and when she was littler, she had a walker, which she was also very good at. And so she basically has found that the wheelchair is the most adaptive for her to get where she needs to go. And
And wheelchair technology, I've noticed, has improved through the years, right?
a lot. And Grace, as you know, also ended up on a wheelchair
Right.
because of the accident. So, Sabrina was said about Grace. She said, Grace is an amateur. I've been in a wheelchair my whole life. Grace just I said, I don't think it's a competition, sweetheart. So for many years, I had two of them in wheelchairs. and we'd go on vacation, we'd go places, and I was like the porter. I would be bringing all the luggage and pushing the chair,
Uh,
so
uh,
whatever. But, I think, people say, oh, wasn't that hard? And I thought, well, there's something about service that it's not just kind of a thing. It's really true. If giving is really kind of gives you something. When you're generous, it's sort of you get paid back by some kind of good feeling. So I
absolutely.
felt like I was needed. I really was. Those two people needed me, and that was great. I could do it. I could cook, and I could do the laundry, and I could get the food, and I could, take them places, and that was not a bad time of my life at all. I was very I was content
Yeah,
being useful, you
yeah.
know. Yeah, and I'm also content not being useful. So,
That's good. That's good. Well,
yeah.
that's important for service-oriented people because a lot
Mm.
of them burn out from too much service.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I had the good fortune to be living at Zen Center, and they were so kind to me when the accident happened. They gave me 2 years of support to care for her at our house,
Mm.
and just a miracle. I don't know how I would have done it. Greece couldn't work, and I didn't have a job. I was on a stipend, so there was no way I could have supported our family without that generosity from Zen Center.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, really
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Zen Center is good to me too. Where's Grace now?
Well, she lives at the Redwoods in Mill Valley. There's
Ah,
a retirement home, very nice, and she
yeah,
has a lovely apartment on the lagoon.
yeah.
And so she moved there when I was going to go lead a Tassajar practice period, the time for me to stop being a caregiver. So I was her caregiver for 7 years. And at some point, I just thought, I can't do this the rest of my life. I have no other life. I actually need to find a way for you to be cared for. And it doesn't have to be me because it's really a matter of helping you get up and wash and change your clothes and so on. So, it was hard. It was really hard to do that, make that change. But we found a really nice place at the Redwoods.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then within a year, I was in the car with Sabrina in the van driving Grace, and Sabrina said to Grace, "Are you going to tell mom?" I said, "Tell mom what?" And she said, "Well, I have a new relationship." So Grace has a new partner and has had her now for about 7 years. And as do I. I also have a new partner. So we both ended up with these really very nice and supportive and engaging and wonderful relationships with two new people and now we all go out to lunch. We all spend time together. We're going to go down to LA together to see Sabrina, all
Hmm.
four of us. It's kind of a nice thing, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Redwoods is great. I visited a number of people there,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, it's good. It's
and
good.
it's a great place. All right, here's what I think about. You're going down to LA to visit Sabrina. I just read if you make under $100,000 in that area, you're at the poverty level.
Yeah, I'm proud of it.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Uh,
I pride myself for never making enough money to pay taxes, you know. So I've always been under the wire. So it's like, no, I don't pay
uh,
taxes. I don't have enough money to pay taxes. So
that's
thanks.
good. Congratulations. Um, yeah. I don't pay taxes, but I have to pay a tax person.
Oh, just
And
to
that,
prove you don't need
yeah,
to.
I just sent
Yeah.
$426 to someone because there are some complications and uh, uh, you don't want to get audited, uh,
Oh,
you know. So anyway, uh,
money, money, money,
yeah,
money.
right.
Yeah, money
So,
business.
well, that's all. That's all really. So, what else is happening?
Well, So yeah, that was a big chunk, the shift from being the caregiver for those many years and raising Sabrina. That was a long stretch. And then at some point along the way, I was asked to be abbess at Green Gulch. And that was an interesting thing. I'd seen what happens to the abbots. So I thought, well, I'm not sure that's the best job. You know, Gotta put a target on your back,
That's right.
Yeah. So somebody said, one of the board members said, "Would you like to think about it for a while?" And I said, "I don't think I better. I think I better just say yes." So I did say yes, and then 9 years, that was so fast, David. You know that. I mean, time is just like, I don't know. It's like a glass of water, and I almost drank it all. It's just this very quick and quiet and fast. So anyway, 9 years I did that at Zen Center at Green Gulch, and then had all the ceremonial, stepping down, having stepped up. Me and Ed Sadazan stepped up together on the
Hmm.
mountain, and we both stepped down together. And he and I, it was wonderful to have him as a partner. So him and who was the third? Why can't I remember? Oh God, there's
Was
another.
Fu, wasn't Fu with
It
you?
was me and and Ed and
Not Fu? I mean,
Kung
not
Fu.
Fu. That's you. That's funny. Linda?
No, she'd already stepped down. I
Uh,
replaced Linda. Anyway, this is crazy. Who was it? Was it Jirio? No, it wasn't Jirio yet. God, that's
no.
wild. We do have a memory care here at Enso Village, and I'm realizing as the days are going by that I think we're going to end up in memory care one of these times. Yeah. Anyway, there was another person whose
It's
name will come to
normal.
me.
It's normal. That's
It's amazing.
not memory care territory.
Really,
That's
it's
just
just normal.
normal. And
There's too much stuff in here.
yeah,
So it just,
I experience
anyway,
it constantly.
I know.
That sort of thing. Oh, yeah, I saw Neil deGrasse Tyson on live TV. You know who he is, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 And he went,
Science guy.
he went, who, oh, that, the one, he, he was president, and wanted to go to the moon. Kennedy? Yeah, Kennedy. So John Kennedy.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, the moon. Yeah, right. It's funny. Anyway, it was really nice. Ed is he's a wonderful human being, and
Yeah.
so so careful and considerate, and anyway, very wise. So I learned a lot from Ed, and yeah, it was good. I think it was a nice time to be part of Green Gulch.
You were
And
abbot until when?
2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah,
Right. Oh, God. Yeah, right. 2 years ago. That's,
Oh, David Zimmerman. David Zimmerman.
oh,
He's
of
now
course. Of course. I knew. I
he was
knew
there.
that.
He was there. Yeah, he got right. So did I. Somehow. Yeah, he was the abbot for the city center, and I was Green Gulch, and Ed was the central. And so we three would be on Zoom every week talking about the troubles, whatever they were, and working together to kind of fix stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that all was a very good time, very good experience, and satisfying. It's like, okay, I've done enough now. I feel like I've done enough positions and enough, uh, uh, getting up really early and following the schedule, being part of the schedule, being in a really tight uh, time bind. So it's really nice to be out of that now.
Mm.
Choices, you know.
Mm. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, sure. Mm.
So my partner and I last year, because my first year off, we traveled for 9 weeks in Europe, and
Wow.
so that was my first big adventure since I was a young woman and traveled, after college, like a lot of us did. So this was it was quite amazing to be seeing all of these places that I hadn't seen, in 50 years or more.
Hmm.
And then I went to Germany when I saw you last, when I was able to fly to Germany because we were staying in London, where Karina's from. My partner's from London. So
Oh,
so we were there, and then Richard said, "Well, you should come. You're right close by." I said, "Oh, okay." So I flew to Germany for the stepping down, and then we went to France and Amsterdam and did the whole tour. We did the I traveled by train around and went to Ireland and then came home.
ah,
So
that's
yeah,
great. That's really neat.
it was really good.
I'm getting to the point where I don't want to travel. And we are going back. We're going to Germany. Well, they fly us there. See, I can afford to go to Germany because they fly me there, and then I go to. I don't need anything, you know.
Yeah.
They pick me up. They bring me there, and I'll go over and see Vanya and
Uh,
Felsentor. There's a few things, but now Katrinka wants to go to Alsace, which is very near Johanneshof. And so,
do you have family there? Is that home?
no, it's
You just
France, and she wants
she's
to
not.
see something in
No.
France.
Oh.
Since we're going to be next door, we're going to be, like an hour away or whatever it is, 2 hours away. Um, so,
It's
well,
also close there. Like here, you think about going to New York, it's like, whoa, that's really far. But there, you just a couple hours, you go from Paris to Amsterdam or from whatever, and take a ferry back to London. And, it was just quite amazing how tiny Europe is in a lot of ways.
oh,
It's like,
I definitely think of that. I think going back to America, oh, you got to be in the car a lot, and it's very long distances. I haven't had to drive since 2013, uh, hmm, and
yeah,
everything's very expensive.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so
And
is
then there's the shame.
yeah right. Uh,
Can't avoid the shame.
yeah, yeah. Uh, the are there any subjects of that you're of interest to you, or anything you'd like to comment on before we bid each other adieu?
I'm waiting for my brain to produce something.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Any pet peeves? Any cogent points of the Dharma? Any?
Yeah. Vast emptiness, nothing holy.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, the Dharma. Well, that stimulating. I mean, I I have this just I'm in love with the Dharma. It's really funny. I felt like I, there's something about just Category Roshi said to me way back when I was his Jisha when he was abbot briefly, and then I was his Jisha while he was at Zen Center.
Right.
And I took him to the airport, and I was going to go. I wanted to go to Minnesota. I thought, well, there's no teacher here anymore. Reb wasn't in yet, and Katagiri seemed like the real thing to me. So I said to him, I'd like to come and be there with you maybe. And he said, well, that would be okay. He said, but Zen Center really needs help right now. It wasn't like everyone's going now, yeah, jump ship. It was more like, well, maybe it's not a good time. And so, but he said to me, well, just read Dharma every day. And I have pretty much. I've done that. And I get up in the morning and I have my cup of tea and I've gone through so many books because I just read for about half an hour every day, every morning. And I just feel like that's, you know, it's kind of like I don't even know what the words are, except it's just kind of fills me with some deep feeling of God, this is wisdom and compassion and all that stuff that we kind of throw off. But I just feel that infusion reading the Dharma.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's
and I love
nourishing.
sharing with people. It's very nourishing. And I
Yeah.
like sharing it with people. People here really want us to start telling them more. I'm going to do an intro to Zen class pretty soon, maybe in July. So I think there's going to be an ongoing opportunity to talk with people
Mm.
about these beautiful teachings. So that's my main uh, satisfaction,
Mm.
other than size and swimming and ping pong. But
Swimming,
it's
that's great. That's great. I hear
it's
you have
great.
a really good pool there.
Really nice pool. We do water aerobics twice a week, and I go to the gym now 3 days a week, and we walk 5 miles on Saturdays. So I feel like the devotion to our bodies right now is kind of about the last hurrah. Is you better take care of this thing.
That's right.
It's you got this old dog. It really needs to be cared for, and so I'm kind of taking that on
You
as a
look like you've cared very well for yourself.
well, Zen Center life was pretty good. Good food and exercise and lots of meditation. So all those things, I feel I'm lucky. Just
Yeah.
right place, right time,
Yeah.
right, right
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed uh, spending time with you a lot in Germany. I remember that. That was good.
Ice cream machine. We were outside. We were getting ice cream. I
Yeah.
remember.
The ice cream truck
Yes, the
came
ice cream.
up and it was free. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. That was neat.
That was a
Yeah.
lovely time. I thought that was one of the most, it was really a healing for me. And I think it was for a lot of people because they said so. The feeling of our two communities, like would feel like they couldn't really come to Zen Center. They wouldn't be welcome, or they were kind of outlaws or some stuff like, easy to imagine. And I feel like that weekend that we all spent together went a long way to kind of putting an end to that. Like, you know, Baker Roshi's going to lecture and Nicole's going to lecture at City Center, and people feel welcome to come and do practice periods or go to Tassajara. So something really good. I think something really good is happening.
Yeah.
And I'm glad,
Yeah.
at the end of our lives to see that healing is, I'm so grateful that that's been possible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, it's happened individually
yeah.
and in other ways. And, you know, I've, I've told him through the years, people aren't really thinking about that. Just maybe an occasional person. Well, but they're thinking about other things. I said,
Most of the
you're
time.
not a pariah. I said, it's more like people don't know who you are.
Right. That's right.
Yeah,
And it's too bad that book. I mean, it's still, it makes me sad that when you Google Zen Center, the first thing that comes up is scandal.
that's right.
And
And
it's crazy. I wish somebody could get that out of there. That is it's just old news.
well,
And
it's not only old news; it's distorted. It wasn't.
yeah,
It wasn't. I had. I felt compelled to write something just recently that pointed out that I have interviewed hundreds of women through the years that had to do with Zen Center and that knew Richard Baker. And I've heard many complaints, but I never once heard a complaint about anything sexual or any inappropriate activity on his part. But, no woman ever accused him of anything. The two women he had affairs with, one longer, one very brief, like a weekend, that was very foolish. They
yeah,
they don't
yeah.
like they don't like people telling them they're victims. They've stayed close with him in various ways. But there were no, there were that stuff gets blown up. It's just unbelievable.
It's a different era. It was a different era. He said that I was at Nancy Wilson Ross's for a year, for not quite a year, but taking care of her. I was one of the people sent,
Oh,
into exile back east,
yeah,
and he came to visit, and he said, it's just like I've become a pariah. I used to be welcomed in these homes and people would happy to see me, and now they're kind of whispering about me and stuff. I thought it just seemed awful. And he said it was just so painful to have gone from being someone who was welcomed and respected, and then have it all of a sudden you've been flipped up, you know. And so I felt very sad for what
Yeah.
was happening. You know, it was just a pile on.
Yeah.
And then I did a lot of group relations theory, and it's kind of like what happens with leaders. Charismatic leaders are appropriated by groups. You need a charismatic leader to make a group, and then if they fail the group, which they inevitably will, you know, I mean, he was only 34 or something when he became abbot, right? It's like Jesus was 32. So, you know, then they
When he
get taken
died.
when he died. Yeah, yeah, right. So I thought, oh my God, it's the group thing that we don't understand. And we should really, you know, learn a lot more about these group dynamics.
Yeah.
And it just felt like he never knew it hit him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't what he did. It was how the group responded, you know, what that
Yeah.
kind of,
Well, um, yeah, but you know, you can look back and see that he's also responsible.
well, yes,
You
yes,
know,
yes, but
he
not
let
like
himself
that.
get too high, too
Yeah,
many expectations.
yeah,
I mean, you have the complete opposite with Trungpa, who, you know, Richard was being accused of having sex with all sorts of students, which isn't true, you know.
right, right,
And Trungpa was doing it in the open. It was like
right.
part of the scene,
That's right.
and there was no scandal. However, there is now with Trumpa's group. There's and not just because of his Dharma air. There are a number of groups in that lineage that won't put his picture on their altar.
Compass?
Yeah,
Oh,
there's ones there's like I've had it explained to me. There's those that will put his, but not the Sakyong. There's the Sakyong, but not him. There's neither one. There's both, and you know, it's just not. I mean, all that stuff is true, and it's too bad and all that, but it doesn't have anything to do with one's practice, really. Those people were just pointing something out. And it's I concluded the little thing I wrote with that Satan is the accuser.
Satan?
Satan is the accuser.
You mean Satan? Satan, that one?
Yeah, the devil, Satan, and that is a very, very low vibe to get involved with, accusing others.
Yeah.
And it is, in India, I saw, I walked into an ashram of a very popular teacher, and there were various quotes from him. And one of them was about that, about not getting involved in accusing others of immoral activity.
Slander.
And Jesus said it. He said, something about while you're talking about the mote in the other person's eye, take the beam out of your own. Or instead of doing that.
Yeah.
So that's a trap we fall into. I mean, there are times when we need to point things out and there needs to be change, but that's sort of endless.
I wish he hadn't left. I think the thing would have come into, it would have found its it would have uprighted itself. I think we would have uprighted ourselves if he had been able to stay. But when I imagine how it would be to be in that situation, I wouldn't have been able to stay. But I just feel like Reb also did something, challenging and difficult and that people really were upset by, and yet somehow he stayed there. He didn't leave, and he let everybody kind of hit him
Yeah.
with yeah. And then
But he didn't defend himself.
No, he just kind of he said, "I'm sorry, I did it."
Yeah, he said, "Why did you do it?" He said, "Greed, hate, and delusion."
There are things to gossip about, and I'm watching myself. Now, don't gossip. This is not about gossip.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could do that for hours.
Yeah.
These people that we know all about. But I mean, that's not really the message. The message really is, tell the truth, say, yes, I did. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. It's like that Hawaiian forgiveness. I think people are quite open to forgiving us and letting us continue to be in their lives. So,
yeah. Well, you've got the story of the maybe Japanese priest who was accused by a young woman of being the father of her baby.
Oh, yeah. Is that so?
And so he said, oh, yes, that's what he says. Right.
Yeah.
I thought, is that a coincidence? No, she said that on purpose. Right. And so for some reason, he takes care of the baby. And finally, she says, well, he wasn't really the father of my baby. So they come say, oh, you should take the baby now. You don't need it or something. You're not really the father. And he says,
is that so?
Right. Right.
They also said to him, you're the worst priest that ever lived. And that's when he said, is that so? And then the next time he said, you're the best priest that ever lived. And the guy says, is that so? But the little twist on that is Reb tells that story a lot. That's how come I know it. And he said when he first used to tell that story, it was like, is that so? Kind of like a little bit of a challenge back. And he said, now he says, is that so? Is that true? Am I the worst priest that ever lived?
Oh, that's funny.
Good. That's good. Yeah.
What I find interesting about that story is not defending yourself when you're completely falsely accused. The story, the Zen story, the is that so story, the guy didn't defend himself when it was completely false. And then I remember William James saying in the Varieties of Religious Experience, published in like 1901, that many early Christians sought being falsely accused so they could not deny it.
Oh, that's great. New precepts.
Wow. Yeah, so we do live in a world of making mistakes and being accused falsely and being accused rightly, but missing the whole time while we're doing all that, we're forgetting the finger pointing to the moon.
And the finger is the moon.
The finger is the moon. There you go. That's good. Yeah. That sounds like something Dogen would say.
He asked me if he could use that line. I said, sure.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, yeah. Is there anything else that any other ground we should cover before we go on our separate ways?
Yeah. Well, this has really been nice to be with you, David. I always enjoy seeing you, and I have for 50 years. So
Yeah.
I remember you when I was hanging out with Michael Phillips.
Oh, yeah.
And you came into her house. I was there, and you opened up some bag you had, and you were throwing stuff out of the bag. One of the things you threw out was your rock suit. And I thought, who is this guy? It was like one of my first impressions of you was just this kind of like a fountain of stuff and irreverence. And I thought, okay, I was like, this is Zen. Finally,
Michael,
Michael,
Richard and Michael are still in touch.
are they?
Yeah.
Good.
And I did a podcast with Michael. We talked a long time, a few years ago. And I really enjoyed it. And I've got a lot of, there was a lot of it. I could only use so much of it because we did so much gossiping about everything. I kept the part about Zen Center really good on the history of greens, and that's one thing I'd like to get down. I've interviewed everybody that can be interviewed now about greens, and the Zen Center had something printed on Green's restaurant, and it was just completely wrong, how it came about and everything. Well,
good,
not completely, but it was it's an interesting story. So I've got a little, actually I have it on Cuke.com, a lot of it, but not from the interviews, not from most of the interviews. They were after that. I wrote a thing on Cuke. It's called On the Floor of Greens. It's got a few parts to it, but we'll see if I can get to it. I don't know. I hope to, maybe in a year or two.
Boy, we've shared the hunting grounds, haven't we? It's like all of us who've been at Zen Center have shared that land and those buildings. And, even if we're not there at the same time, we all have this embodied memory of that we had,
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I think we really are like a tribe, this Sangha, this amazing connection that I feel is just so much a part of my life. Is I'm Zen Center, you're Zen Center, we're Zen Center. And,
I agree. And I feel very good about everybody.
Me too.
Well, okay.
Well, au revoir. This was so nice.
Yeah.
It was nice to spend time with you. And you're getting ready for lunch, and I'm going to go watch Netflix or something.
I think I'll have some tea.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I start off with chocolate. Everybody calls it cacao.
Is that something that they do you're in Bali, right?
Right. Oh, well, Bali, there's a lot of chocolate grown and made here, but do people drink chocolate in the morning? No, I do. It's been a pleasure, and until we meet again.
Yes, good. I look forward to it.
Yeah. Okay.
You take care. I hope all goes well for you.
Yeah, you too. You too.
Yeah.
And get in touch anytime. You know how.
Okay.
All right.
I've got your number.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye. So thanks a lot, Fu. That was great. Really enjoyed it. Really good to communicate with you, as it was in Germany last year. And it's really good what's happening with Zen Center and Dharma Sangha and Richard Baker and everybody. It takes a while. Sometimes I think I have actually thought at times, I have seen an interview with or read about like people in, Uganda or somewhere where else in Africa, where people have had their entire families slaughtered by people on the other side. They'd sort of run amok and stuff. And then later have come to forgive the people that killed their families. I've seen that. And we can learn that. And also, We should learn not to believe everything we hear and spread false rumors and exaggerations. But it's sort of fun, isn't it? Okay. So this has been a Cuke Audio podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from Sleepy Sanur with Dogge Bandita, Feline Manis, and dear lovely Katrinka in spirit. She returns from Australia tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, and I have to go to the airport to show my devotion at 10 o'clock. But that means that she'll come out maybe, they probably won't be real busy then, maybe 10:30, 10:45. We have residence visas, so we don't have to stand in line with all the people getting visas. That's fun. I enjoy that part. Okay. Anyway, we're all wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.